What's going on, you guys? It's Tony at Casa Esmeralda. Thank you for those that have liked and subscribed. And hello, how is everyone today? So just in my last video I was down in my meadow and I was talking about some other stuff, and today the weather's kind of holding, and I said I was going to do that. Frida is back, and I was just going to show you what I've been up to and what is going on around here at Casa Esmeralda. So okay, well, there's been lots of work done in the last month, so I haven't done a lot of filming, and well, let's just get to it and get around to everything, and then we can all take a look-see. So the fox, well, Frida is here. We'll get to Frida in a bit. See Frida, say hello. Frida is back after 8 months being stray and living in the countryside. I shut down the Jeep about 3 weeks ago now already, and I've been on the bicycle. So because the weather's been good, the weather's changed, and I really do need to get a lot more exercise just to get outside. I have a really nice bicycle, and I have this trailer, and I brought up this tank of gas from the town about 10 kilometers away from here, and it was really hard, so I couldn't ride the bike up the hill. It's about a 3-kilometer hill climb down there, so the highway is way down there in the valley, and it's about a 3-kilometer hill climb from the highway, and I took the country road. It was a nice, really nice bike ride anyway, to the country roads, along the country roads to get back up here in my olive grove out in the boonies of the countryside. So these tanks are heavy, these tanks of gas here, because I don't like to really cook indoors in the summertime, and I don't have a barbecue. I cook actually on the ground. Possibly in the near future there will be some project of me having an outdoor oven, but I use my fireplace oven in my house, and these are really heavy. So, and they last me anywhere from 1 to 2 months depending on how much gas I use, but normally they last me about 1.5 months. If I really stretch it, it's about 2 months. So, and they cost me 20 euros. Well, today actually the guy put this in the trailer and he dropped it in there and he broke the panels, and luckily I cut some pallets before I left off of there, and when I cut it off of there I kind of just put some pallet pieces in here because I thought the guy is going to drop it in there, which he did. He dropped it in there and it fell right through, so I'll be getting a discount. So my first run of the ducks, they are gone, and the fox got through the hole in the fence, and I've been putting these blocks down. The new ducks are here, and this gate is in too. So the last time I filmed up here, I did all of this myself. I cut the metal, and then just the blacksmith, he welded it together. It was like done in half an hour. And this is simple. I just used those blocks as stabilizers. So I dug a big hole here in the ground, and then about a ½ meter deep, and then I put the posts again in the ground, and then I just used the blocks as stabilizers to stabilize the posts and to level it, and then I just put a whole bunch of cement in there, and then that became now as concrete. And I love this corral gate because since last year in September I was opening and closing the gate over there, and I was hammering posts into the ground, and this is so much easier when you have animals and you need to access your corral at least a half a dozen to a dozen times a day. You got to give them water, you got to check on the animals and everything like that. So the turkeys arrived, the young turkeys. These are really good, in really good condition. They're sort of an early stage development turkey, and the goats are just waiting to get out. So I just got back here a little bit, and I thought I'd do some filming before I get out. And Ziggy and Pippi are here, and they just love to see me. How are you guys doing, huh? Yeah. So we gotta get the duck bath up and running again. I think the water is it was leaking out because there's a hole in the bottom, the drain holes in the bottom. Gotta plug those ones. I gotta get down to my neighbor and see if he's got more old hay, because I'm gonna be doing some more planting and everything. And these guys, they look a little bit cold. I'm gonna just see what's going on here, if they're cold or they're sleeping or whatever, or they want to go inside the root cellar, which is nice and warm and things like that. And it's starting to rain now, so off and on it's been raining today. So I haven't watered today, which is really good, and yesterday I haven't watered either. We've had a lot of rain here. Actually, about a week ago, like in about 2 week period, we had about 1 meter of rainfall here. Just incredible. So Frida, she is not farm animal trained. She was living wild. She lived the whole entire winter down in the valley by the people, the dogs I call the Tower House crew. There's a whole bunch of stray dogs. They live in an olive grove there, and I was taking a back road behind the olive oil. There's an olive oil mill there, and I guess that olive oil, the manager of the olive oil mill, he throws food out over the fence, and these dogs, they all come in and chow down. So what happened was one day, and she was about, Bruno is about February, so a year and 3 months. So when she was, I think it was about like August, so when she was about 8 or 9 months old, she just didn't show up. She was just gone. That was it. Like, I was calling and she kept going that way, and I guess then she got lost around here and she ended up down there with all the other stray dogs. So Frida is back. I got my black foxhound from Lottie back, which is really cool, and she's just so sweet, and she recognized me right away and stuff, and we're still bonding, but she hasn't attacked me. She's not being really aggressive, but she is not being farm animal trained. So with all the birds and stuff, she's tried to get in the coop. She's chased the birds and things like that. So luckily nothing has been, no animals have died or anything like that sort of thing, because she's actually learned to hunt those animals. So that's all been good. So the duckies are in here, and the new duckies are in here now. And so at nighttime, because the fox is getting into the corral, so I actually made the corral for goats, but it's actually turned out to be a good running corral for big birds like ducks and turkeys. And I got my chickens together on the other side, because you don't want to put chickens and turkeys together, because the turkeys or the ducks, they make this virus called the blackhead virus in their poop, and the chickens, they actually eat the poop and then they die. So you got to be careful with putting certain birds together and things like that, because last year my neighbor here, he put all of his turkeys, he bought like a dozen turkeys together, and he bought like 20 hens, and all 20 hens died in some of the turkeys. It was like a big virus. And then obviously then that's also when my dogs died then too, because he was just throwing the birds out onto the front lawn here and things like that. And yeah, it was a very sad moment. So, you know, educate. It's very important to educate yourself before you get birds. Do some research online, whatever, read books and things like that before you're gonna get yourself killed, right? Get the birds, the animals are gonna get themselves killed. So yeah, so the new duckies are here. I think it's just too cold today, and I had 8 chicks, and now like 5 have died because of the rain and everything. It's just been too cold, and then this is the last of the hardy ones. So I think by having more chicks and more birds in here, it'll actually be warmer for them, and they can kind of just snuggle up together. Last year I had a whole bunch of birds. So So these guys just arrived yesterday. There's 1 male and 3 females, and it's the same with the turkeys. There's 1 male and 3 females, and I hope to get, once when they start mating, I hope to get the eggs and then incubate them and maybe make a few more birds, because that would be cool. So I just got back from my ride. It was a really nice country ride. It's very hilly here. It's very mountainous. Everything is going good. Yeah. So there's some pomodori tomatoes that are going here. There's some potatoes that now the new potatoes are coming in here, which is really cool. I want to really build this up more. Like last year I had I think I had like almost too high a tower, and I these are like the potatoes from the garage, and I just threw them all in here, all the leftover potatoes. So there's like 10 kilos of potatoes in here just covering, and it will start to grow again. And the fennel from the winter is still good. I'm making soups today, but I didn't buy anything. You got pecan growing here, so a red hot pepper. This guy's actually got to go in the greenhouse. I kind of left it out because I'm going to show you what I did there. I just put in tomato seeds in here. This guy's got to get covered so they can germinate. I just kind of left them out because of the rain yesterday and over the weekend. It was raining like 2 days just to get the seeds really good soaked in and everything like that. And now this needs a couple days, up to about anywhere between 5 and 10 days of covering, and so they can get the heat up and then they can germinate and plant themselves. There's cucumbers that are coming up in here, which is really cool. So there's a whole bunch of cucumbers that I did from seed, and I germinated in the greenhouse over the last month. And go back over there, there's like another cucumber. So, and these guys are really taking off and growing. So last week they were just like little sprouts. Last week when I put them in, you know, they were like the size of my thumb, and now they're growing like about 5 centimeters a week, which is really cool. So I'm very happy with this. And the pallet bins are always the ones the pallet bins are always the ones, the producers. You don't need a lot of fertilizer in here and everything, because it's all the chickens do all the work and everything like that. I just grab all the hay and everything, the mist from the chicken house, and I just put it in here. And the greenhouse has been revamped, and I said I was getting around to do it. Yay, it's been done. So last time, because there was all these pots and everything, and I got coffee bean seeds from Jamaica from a friend of mine. He grows the Blue Mountain, and he grows the Arabica, and I have the seeds from him. It was a little bit difficult to get the seeds through customs and everything, but they did let it in here into the Mediterranean, so it was really cool. It was a very long wait. It was like almost over like a month and a half. It sat in customs for like a couple weeks and stuff like that. So I got the seeds, and I will be planting some coffee if I get around to it, and I just got to get the hay from my local neighbor and things like that. So all I did is I just took all the herbs out, and it's very warm in here. I gotta get a sprinkler going. Took all the herbs out, and that's it. They just in natural bedding. There's a little bit of hay now on the bottom just to keep things going, and I kind of switched it around the way I like it. There's some red hot pepper going here, and I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put some tomatoes in here. I'm gonna put some more peppers in here, and then I'll put some red hot peppers. And I'm still iffy in deciding on the zucchilungo, because last year I put zucchilungo in here, as you saw in my last video, and the ants just came in here. But then when October came around, the zucchilungo again, it just took right off, and it produced me like a dozen more. So I still have some lettuce growing in here, which is also I found good for cooking. I found also a few potatoes, some nice cherry sized potatoes growing in here, which I love, with the parsley and the garlic and the olive oil. So it's all good. So I've been doing a lot of planting and growing in the last month. Supposedly about 300 sprouts. Used my greenhouse. So before I revamped it and everything like that, I did the sprouts, and they all came up and they germinated. So my greenhouse was full of flats which is really cool. I got to get water in this now today, even though it's been raining off and on today. It's been cool, so the well is really dry. There's only about 1 or 2 feet of water in the bottom of this well, so I got to see on how I'm going to get water. But it should fill up pretty soon. See, last year I had a lot more chickens. So when I had a lot more chickens here, all this grass and all these weeds and everything, they were just chowing and chomping through this. If you see my last videos last year, there was hardly anything left. And I really want to get revitalization and just start making things grow around here. So the chickens are doing okay. I haven't had any more chickens or lost any more chickens, or they're not fighting anymore. Because it's just a really nice size. I find that if you have a lot of chickens and it's crowded and they can't get out, and now I have the dog that's not trained, so it's kind of tricky. You know, I gotta get the Frida inside the house now, and then let the chickens out, and then Frida can't come out, and all these things. So I gotta be careful with Frida, and when I let the chickens free range in the evening time and things like that. But it's all good. They're still happy. I got to collect their eggs right now, which is really cool. So, and then the coop's got to be cleaned out in the back, and I'm going to use that for planting. So let's go over here. Like 300 sprouts, but some have already died. Normally that's pretty normal. Some of them, they just don't germinate. So I got zucca. I got like a zucca, like a type of squash growing here. And then the natural garden here, as I did last year, is not going to be... I didn't really plow this part with my tractor at all. I just left it as it is because I thought, well, last year I still had stuff growing here into the first week of November before the frost came and things like that. So I'm just going to plant again. But I think what I want to do is start right away on the pumpkins in here, and then put a plastic sheet down and things like that, and get the pumpkins germinated, because that's what I wanted last year for the winter, and I never got pumpkins and I never got zucchinis. So those two things I've got to get in sometime this week. And yeah, so I got squash growing in here, and these ones are just coming up. And I'm using the natural fertilizer from the Rapa and the garden herbs, and I will show you in a minute. So this is coming along pretty good. This is all experimental right now, because if you're planting and growing for the first time in a garden like this, so I took the tractor on this area over this, and this is sort of all growing. These are really coming up. And then this is some leftover compost. I mean, these are the pompere molds, and there's some eggshells and some onions, and I just have a big tub of water that I end up, at the end of the day, I just have a big tub of water, and I just throw all my compost and scraps in there. And then this is also composting, and it's giving off nutrients. So every day I'm just gonna throw a little bit of compost down of my scraps in front of these plants where I'm growing this food. So some of them are kind of coming along, some of them are kind of dying off. It's all experimental. These ones and that. So these are all squash. It's a type of Mediterranean squash. And then we have some more cucumbers. So I planted these cucumbers at the same time as I did the paladin, and some of these cucumbers are just really not coming along that good. They don't have the right nutrients as that in the paladin. So I'm just seeing. And the melons were all melons. So this is like watermelon and canary melon, Mediterranean melon, all different types of melons. And as I said, like I planted this in the same time as that, and that is taking off, but this isn't, because it's just been too cold. Like I said, like I've had chicks die and things like that. So melons need really warm weather to grow in. You need 30 plus degrees Celsius weather all the time. 30 to 40 degrees Celsius is really good for melons, and lots of rain if you're growing. So these are all melons here. the Nespolese, which is the locust fruit, or the Mediterranean, as they say, like the Mediterranean fruit. These ones are really, they're still a little bit sour and they're a little bit juicy, but this is what my goats did. So I had this tree for now, because I've been here, August will be 3 years, and the ants always ate all of this tree. So the goats, they trimmed all of this tree here. They were trimming all of this tree, and then I ended up with like 100 fruits here on top. Well, anyway, I think there's like about 80 different fruits of these ones, and these are the Nespolese. I'm gonna try one right now. Kind of sour, as you can see, but after a long ride, well, not a very long ride, but a very heavy ride of cargoing like a 70-pound bottle of gas. I made some tea and things like that, so I chugged that down when I came home because I was really thirsty. It's warm out today. It's about 24 Celsius, but last year at this time, these ones were already ripe. At this time, and there was a lot of apricots, and this year there's nothing. So these are like 2-3 weeks behind because of the European cold winter. So I realize now I should have watered this morning because this is really drying out. We got some caracellos in here, and this is all iffy. It seems like it's kind of going, there's an ant's nest there. So if you see an ant's nest and where you're going, there's something wrong with your garden. Maybe there's not enough nutrients or whatever, and the ants will actually fix it. Don't kill your ants. Even if you try to kill them or anything, they're just going to come back, and they're going to come back with vengeance on your garden. And there's a reason why you have insects and all these other bugs in your garden and everything. If your garden's functioning properly, which I've learned, actually you don't really have a lot of bugs at all. If your garden's functioning really well and everything's growing great, you won't have a lot of bugs. So yeah, there's melanzani growing in here. There's some pomodores coming up, and these are the tomatoes that like the cherry ones. They call them chili and gili, which I like. So some of these tomatoes are looking promising, and these were only a few centimeters high, and I grew these also from seed from the greenhouse. So the one thing that does survive around here and does grow like a weed is these ones. So I'm hoping I get something from it. And this ground is really drying out here. It's getting very hard, and I'm wearing shoes. And this is also taking off, so anything, there's still some melanzani here, the eggplant, and then some of this also, I just planted this last week, is the zucca. So this is another variety of a squash, and then this one is also taking off here, and these were just like little buds, so these ones are growing. As you can see, they are growing here. So this is 300 I put down, and some have already died. But I'm not too worried because this is kind of all experimental. And like when I first moved here, I did a garden and it also sort of kind of failed. And there's also some peppers, some sweet peppers. I don't know if they're red or if they're green, but there's sweet peppers growing in here. And there's about 25 plants of sweet peppers. So for each part that I planted, I did anywhere between 20 and 30, and I'm putting down. So, and I'm looking on getting some like rotating sprinkler, but the only thing is if you're watering a lot here, you're gonna get the weeds. And these plants are mostly of the landrace Mediterranean kind, so they're used to the high temperatures, the drought periods and everything like that. So they actually grow with very little water, and some people, they have a tendency to use tubes and thousands of liters of water, and they're just planting weeds all the time. And then this is another type of squash here. growing, and then this one is kind of sort of iffy. I possibly put it in the ground a little bit too early from seed, but it's just kind of sort of hanging in there. There's some that are got yellow leaves on, some that are hanging in, and some that are dying. So we have to try again. Just keep trying, and then you know, you will see the result of your plantings. And you know, and then it's like, don't plant here, or plant something else here or something like that, and work things out. And then we got lots of figs coming again. So I did a dowsing thing here, one of those dowsing rods, and it was like right here, and this thing was just like bouncing up and down. So there is like a natural groundwater. And then what the cold is also doing is, like over here, as you see, the figs are being knocked off the trees because it's just been too cold. These figs are already getting green, but they're not getting sweet, and they normally come in the first week of July. So in about a month's time I should be eating figs, but it's too much rain, and it's been too cold lately. It hasn't been like last year or the last few years here. So because of the long German winter, or the long European winter that's sort of came down here. And I was thinking, in here in this garden I get like a whole mound of hay, and I just plant potatoes, do a root stout garden with potatoes in the ground instead of doing it in the pallet bins, and see how that turns out. I got some seeds. I want to do some yams and things like that, because with the root stout method, supposedly you can plant and grow potatoes just about anywhere, as long as you have the right hay and your chickens are doing the right job. So some of these trees, they all gotta get watered, as you know, like I'm on my bicycle, and so I have very long days, longer days than before, but that's okay. I'm just managing and surviving. And the bees, I'm waiting on the 35 degrees Celsius weather, and then a bee man is going to drop me a nuke. I talked to him already last year. I should get in contact with him anyway, but he's possibly got a nuke for me. So after the winter, the very long winter here, and it came spring, I opened up the hive, and there was actually a few bees in there. The queen was in there, and so they managed to survive the winter, but they all left. So it was just too cold, and I think they went and flew over to my neighbor about 400 or 500, about a half a kilometer away from here. There's a whole entire hive and everything like that. So yeah, my neighbor, he has like a dozen hives, and they are really strong. So this hive is not very strong, very well built, and that. So last year, the only thing is I have to catch the bees still, and there are several ways you can catch bees and things like that. So I did have a hive in the greenhouse last year, and I did have a natural hive here, which I moved from the watering cart sort of thing. But everything's growing, everything's coming along, and hundreds, because of the rain, hundreds and hundreds of olives. So yahoo. So I hope the weather stays actually like this, and if there's a really hot spell period and there's not too much rain before the winter comes, then I will have a good Mediterranean gold harvest. So they call this Mediterranean gold. It's amazing what you find on your bicycle and things like that. Say hello, Frida. Hi, Giuseppe. Bruno, he's kind of taking his afternoon nap. These guys, they kind of rotate around. Hello. Whoa. Uh-oh. Okay, so I'm gonna end it here. Yeah, So I've been very busy lately, just not doing a lot of filming because I've been trying to set up my garden, and it was like if I wanted to film my experimental garden in the ground, my first year planting here in the ground, which I hope is not a failure and things like that. And some of it's growing, some of it's not, and it's just gonna have to wait and see until the summer. And as I get more and more out on the bicycle and, you know, try to get more exercise and just go outside, have a nice time. I hope I've inspired you to plant and grow your own food, to live off the land, to go outside and do things on your own. Yeah, so this is Tony at Casa Esmeralda. Thank you for those that have liked and subscribed, and hit that like button down below, and I'll see you in the next video. So take care, bye for now.